Welcome back to Open for Business. As usual, I've got another great victim. No, another great guest coming on today, and he is going to tell us all about the Chattanooga area and the real estate in the real estate industry in the Chattanooga area. He is Corey Ballew. He is a real estate broker with the Ballew Team, and he is in one of my networking groups. And this guy, I'm telling you right now, he would give me a run for my money in the tech world, and I love seeing these guys that get excited about the tech world as well as he is huge in the real estate industry. Let's bring him on now. Hello there, Corey. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing awesome, John, and thank you so much for having me on here. I've been really getting addicted to doing video interviews because I'm doing that for my school and YouTube community as well. So it's you actually have some of the deeper conversations, which is really good than sometimes at the short networking groups and stuff like that.
Yes. Well, we try to dive in. So the first thing I want to tell everybody is introduce yourself, and I want to know how you got into the wonderful real estate industry.
Yeah, definitely. So sometimes I start a little bit with my background in education. My wife and I, University of Missouri in Columbia. I started initially as a psychology major and switched to mechanical engineering, which are very different fields. And I ended up getting a business interdisciplinary degree in math, engineering, and psychology, a sociology minor. And I studied another year after getting my bachelor's in mechanical engineering at UTC after my wife and I moved here after Columbia, Missouri. And so we've lived in Chattanooga for 14 years. I also technology startups and hospitality and real estate, something that was always interested me. I actually wanted to buy a house in college, and we ended up renting and kind of doing the rent hacking there. I did propose to buy a property there. I've always been interested in sustainable design and modern architecture, even whether it's like Frank Lloyd Wright or monolithic and geodesic domes, and eventually look to do some other developments myself. I've done real estate investing, and we're going to get into some development projects. So really, that's been my long-term plan, is getting development projects. I got in 2014 actually did a proposal and some renderings for the Parkway Tower. I get really interested in architecture and history. A lot of people live here. They just see an ugly building. They don't know the history of it. The Parkway Tower that's by Finley Stadium. And then so I wanted to get into really big projects, and I knew I needed to learn things. That was in my, I'm 38, about to turn 39, and that was in 2014. So I knew I needed to get a lot of knowledge in real estate, and I actually was doing marketing for some other businesses. I started with a real estate agent, Ryan King, and I worked with him for about a year doing marketing and then as a buyer's agent. And I knew I wanted to get into developing and investing. That was my goal the whole time. And so I worked with a lot of home buyers. Initially, that's how I kind of got started in that. And I actually bought my own house, and I got licensed at the same time back in 2015. March 27th is my home anniversary. It's also my license anniversary for real estate license. And so I really identified early with a lot of people that were excited about buying their first home. And then I really love working with investors. And sometimes it's not always the most profitable thing on some of the smaller properties. And it was a big learning opportunity, though. I've had so many mentors that have been clients that I've learned from, both on the people doing fix and flips and rentals, commercial properties. I do office and retail leasing. I work with syndications and funds now, of being able to support others that are raising capital for equity syndications, debt, private lending, hard money lending companies, property management companies. So we're doing some of those things of doing masterminds for investments and syndications. That's all kinds of things I'm working on, building my own fund, doing some of my own development projects with partners, and really building up the bigger, more interesting levels of commercial real estate investing are my specialties. That I also even have other seasoned realtors and other investors that kind of come to me to, like, we brainstorm things, and you can always learn something from others. So if they know 5 things and I know 5 things, we've collectively both self-improved and learned more. So that's really kind of that journey of, and I've done fix and flips and private money lending, owned single family and duplexes,
Right.
bought and sold land. I've kind of got in my hands in learning the difference of that. And I don't really want to own residential houses anymore. I do own with a partner. I'm going to be working on some commercial developments and doing some syndications and building a not just a business incubator, not a firm, but more like a startup incubator fund is what we're going to be doing because I really love small business startups and really helping people that are high quality entrepreneurs as well as like college graduates that have are in a field of doing some sort of technology research. So kind of a tech incubator slash real estate incubator slash business incubator is what Human Life Capital will be that we're working on building the infrastructure for right now with some partners. And then I have some other fun. I have some other projects we're working on, some kind of tech companies and for real estate, for showing platform, and building some communities. That's one thing I really like doing. The school for we're building one for relationships for like couples. We're building the one for real property syndicate. I'm building one for technologists because I myself am a technologist and tech enthusiast. Whether it's AI, 3D printing, AI art and poetry. I love smart cars. Like we have two Teslas, and anyway, I get really passionate about technology, small businesses, and communities, and so building ecosystems around that where I can collaborate. I think collaboration is really the biggest part. Building relationships and collaborating. So I do like 20 networking events a month, usually between incredible business networking that I lead and sponsor the Morning Cup Networking, which we're both part of, and I love that group. And today I went to, I've gone many times to Coffee Break. That's a once monthly. It's kind of the nonprofits, artists, musicians, and kind of that world as well. So anyway, those are a whole bunch of different things. And what I've told some people, I would rather overwhelm them than underwhelm them because they can always contact me and ask questions later or connect for one-on-ones. And I don't want to ever get bored. Like sometimes I'm 2 nights ago, I was up between 11:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. writing a business plan, proposals, private placement addendums for a hotel and convenience store brand that I'm going to be working on with a partner that will be like $1 billion business. And just that's what I do for fun. Like I used to like Netflix. I really do love TV and movies. And instead of TV and movies, my hobby and passion a lot of times is helping others with build their business and dreams, how I can partner and how I can build some of these other kind of building our empire down the road kind of thing with other people.
Nice, nice. Well, I can just end the show now because you just pretty much took all my thunder.
Well,
Every question I wanted to ask, you've already answered. I'm like, well, we're done now. That's sweet.
And the thing is, I only scratched the surface on that. So we're actually going to be writing about 4 different books.
Yeah, I was going to say you're an author.
Yes,
and your daughter's an author, right?
Yeah, so we are actually. So one thing I'm doing, my 2 things I want people to be able to be impacted by, and this is like the legacy things, is I studied psychology and I love different topics and diving down deep and learning things, and I'm my entrepreneur and engineer brain, I remember things very well, and I really get very deeply fascinated about things. So one thing is most people know about the negative. They see negative news, they know about negative psychology. What they don't always know is about positive psychology. And so one of those things, for example, is the belief of pronoia is the opposite of paranoia. And it's essentially the intense optimism. It's the same thing that you have and every other entrepreneur has, is you have a mindset of opportunity, of collaboration, of culture, of believing that anyone that you meet might be the right person to change your life and your world personally and professionally. And if you have that mindset, every day becomes interesting of what can I learn today? Who can I make today? Also make today awesome. Make today awesome and appreciate you for real are my 2 things I want to leave people with. I'm writing a book about that kind of goes on to that pronoia and making today awesome. Is how can I not just do that for myself, but for everyone, like my family, my friends, people I meet. And like that's so much more than, and real estate, we also help a lot of people achieve their dream, whether it's buying their property or building a business, especially on the commercial side. And also even other things like the server that you meet. A lot of people need to read these two books. They need to read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and then need to read The Go Giver. And those are mindset and culture books that it's about intentionally being, not just intentionally being a good person, but taking active interest in other people, how to be able to connect on a level of how can I collaborate with you? How can I help you? How do something together? How can I make an impact? And the more creative you get and the more intentional you get, you can really make big impacts on people. It could be just generous and making a compliment. It can be so simple like that. I talked with a telemarketer recently, and and I know you probably appreciate that with all the TV and radio and podcasting, is I gave him a compliment. I was like, you have such a great voice. Has anyone told you that? And he said, I've never had someone on a sales call compliment my voice. I was like, well, you have like a radio voice.
Right.
And I just said, it's just generally true. And you probably had some of those people that you're like, hey, you'd be great on my show because you got a great voice. Right. So that's kind of, some other thing. My daughter, so she goes to the Bright School, which is just one of the best schools. There's other great schools in our area, and it's a private school, and they just cultivate the children so much more. And some of those things are on us too. Like my daughter is 9 years old, and she's been doing violin for 4 years, and she wouldn't have been doing that if didn't have like the Chattanooga Orchestra and symphony that came and performed for the kids. And she wanted to play the violin. We did not say you got to play the violin. She's like, out of all the instruments, I want to play the violin. And it's also like, what's interesting about that is it's one of the most challenging instruments to learn how to play. And she's been doing that for 4 years. And then she also in the past year has been learning violin or piano. And so she can play piano and violin at 9 years old. And my wife, in high school, she did competed on flute, both in band and orchestra. As a child, she also played, and like more middle school age, she played violin. And my wife is also enhancing her learning of piano right now. And they play music together. And lately, I've been listening to a lot of music with two cellos as well as Brooklyn Duo. And I've decided I'm going to learn the cello. I really like the cello. So anyway, this summer,
you do know you live in the Appalachian Mountains, right? So you need to be learning the banjo.
My mom learned the banjo. I do have appreciation for the banjo, although the cello. And so if you go listen to two cellos, and they cover a lot of like popular artists. So like,
oh, I know exactly who they are. They're awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're
awesome.
No. Yeah. So,
and their version's better than the originals, like Eye of the Tiger or
I have to say, I do like them, right? But you know, being in the Appalachian Mountains, if you don't do the banjo and you're going to do the cello, you might as well turn it into a stand-up bass, and you're all good.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be able to do a family band essentially. My
there
wife
you have it.
My daughter can play the violin, my wife can play the piano, and I can play the cello. And we also recently we've gone twice to the candlelight performances, which I would highly recommend to go to the candlelight performances. And we went one seasons, and we went to the other one that was Imagine Dragons and Coldplay, and that was Tyrian Church, really and they had like the architecture. It was beautiful. And some of those things, if you can do those things, inspire your family and yourself. And back to the story of my daughter on the author. So she's also we have a corgi, and we're actually going to do some of the monthly corgi meetups as well as the corgi parade. Our dog Pickles is what my daughter decided to name our dog, and usually that makes people smile whenever we say our dog Pickles. So if you don't remember Corey Ballew, you're going to remember Pickles the corgi. And my daughter has it's kind of a fantasy novel, adventure novel that we are building together. And she did some of the art, and we already made the cover, and we're working on storyline and characters. And we're using AI to enhance our story and our guide and things like that. So the main characters are Pickles. We had a border collie named Penny for 14 years, and Penny was her name, and Penny said the story. And then there's Peaches is one of the other corgis, and what actually I heard the children's dentistry on Gun Barrel that my daughter goes to. They have a little it's kind of like a small poodle, and its name is Peaches. And so my daughter named the dog one of the characters after Peaches. And then I don't know where this other one came from, but Honey Bean is the other one that she decided to name that, and that's the boy. That's the boy out of the group. The other ones are three girls, and they are corgis that live in an animal world that's to Earth, but it's magical. And so there's it's Paws and Portals is the title, and it's the magical corgi crew is the kind of the universe, and there'll be other stories and along that line. So it's going to be kind of like, think of like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, and maybe Watership Down and Aesop Fables all kind of mixed together for the themes. So there's some learning lessons. There's some how to be. They're going to save the world. They're helping their friends. All the characters in that. So that's every Sunday is our time block to write our story, and the other times we still talk about it. I will say this too, is when we talk about calendars, and I will sending calendar invites, so that way I can put the correct time on any appointments. I live by my calendar. Anything that's important needs to be on the calendar, which I did time block this for noon to 1, for example. Anything that's important, whether it's a business meeting or anything that you're looking to do, it should be on your calendar. If it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. And if it's important, it will be on your calendar. So that's also family time. It's also working on a book together. It might be like we're going to do a camping trip together. We put that on the calendar. I also use Habit Now as a habit tracker, which I've been able to be a lot more productive in my fitness and business planning and other things I'm doing. And I also built a Couples Connect app as a habit tracker for relationships. That's a web app right now, and it will go in the App Store, and we'll be building a community around that because I wanted to go into psychology to help people. I'm actually we kind of joke in real estate that we are a therapist, or it's included or whatever. And I've also seen so many people that we deal with sometimes with estates and divorces and situations like that. I think a lot of people, they go to the doctor and the doctor was like, "Did you exercise?" And what a lot of people don't go to the counselor, and they really ought to. And I don't have a counselor. Sometimes we use AI for that, and I do have counselor friends that I've sometimes talked to, coaches or mindset reading. It's doing the exercises daily though. Like a good relationship has 7 hugs a day, for example. You have a daily gratitude. You plan events together. You support each other's goals. So my wife and I are making a baking and cookbook together because she loves to bake and I love to cook. Really, I love to eat. So we're building that together. She's also supporting our music goals and things like that together. And a lot of people just don't have, whatever you focus on expands, and they don't have that for the relationship. And there's also things like I recently made a house rules for all the mindset things and the things we should be and shouldn't be doing. For example, and you appreciate this in radio, we need to not say filler words like and but. Ideally, there's certain things about making today awesome, being kind. We have a list of 20 things, and also anybody that comes to our house, they're going to have to read the rules and hey, what are you going to learn today? What positive thing are you going to do? Are you going to say gratitude? Are you going to tell your family that you love them? Tell yourself that you love yourself. A lot of people, that's the hardest one that they can do, is that they love their family, their kids, their parents, their friends, their whatever, and they can't, and they have a hard time sometimes saying that they love themselves. So there's a lot of big mindset things we're working on, and a lot of those have been a cultivation of decades of professional reading, of networking, of learning from others, of so many different influences, of philosophy of an East and West. I'm starting that's another thing. I'm starting a philosophy club to meet as a philosophy on tap. So kind of meeting at a local bar and talking about philosophy. Like I said, we only scratched the surface on some of those things. And I I want to hear some of your questions, and some of those I might have rambled on too much. We do have one thing, we have one mouth and two ears, so we do need to um, listen twice as much as we talk, and that's another thing on the rule is active listening of the house rules as well.
Well, actually, you literally, I mean, you filled my format, which is really good, and you've hit every single one of them. So what we're going to come back to is the one of the reasons I wanted to bring on here is I knew you're a very interesting guy. But let's talk about the real estate side, because this is a business. This is a business show, and then let's talk about what really is, how is the industry in the Chattanooga area. When I say the Chattanooga area, I'm probably looking tri-state, Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia. So how is that going so far?
Yeah, so Tennessee and Georgia. We also, our brokerage Real, we're in all 50 states in Canada. So I do have a partner. We're working on some Alabama things as a kind of a partnership referral. We have 4 apartments off market. We have a package of $15 million worth of self-storage. And on the commercial world, like the same thing with residential, interest rates have been a little higher, and we're seeing more people that are in a situation where they might be looking to sell because of what the values are, and others are looking at, I would keep the property if I could refinance at a low enough rate, and I may or may not want to do that. I will say 2023 was the hardest year because of high interest rates. Our production was cut in half. Typically, we make between like 250,000, and we made like 120,000, and that's gross. A lot of times people don't think about real estate income as like you have all the self-employment income. You don't have all the benefits. You also pay for all your own marketing. So really all those numbers, it's really the actual take-home pay after paying taxes and all the fees and things is really a lot less. And plus we pay for private school and we have, things like that. So I will say 2023 was the hardest year in real estate.
Oh, no. 2009 was the hardest time in real estate. Yeah. Trust me, I know because I lived that world. So, yeah.
And actually, if you look at sales stats based on the population size, though, 2023 was actually some of the lowest amount of sales, and adjusting for population, it was actually, if you adjust for population, it was probably actually worse than 2009. The big difference, though, is in regards to we have closures, all the COVID programs where they could defer interest payments and things like that. So we didn't see as many foreclosures. However, the number of sales was down tremendously in 2023. And we're starting to see 2026 a lot more sales activity. We're still at a seller's market. However, it's nothing like 2021 was. Like we had 1 month of inventory. Things were. I had some first-time home buyers that were 1 of 20 offers, and we have a strong market now. Although it's more like an average market, where a property might take a month or 2 to sell, and people got spoiled in 2021 where they listed a property that had 10 offers in one weekend and stuff. And I think what it also does is it gets the people that are part-time out of the business. Whenever there's peak times like that, there's a record number of level of people who get in and like, oh, this must be easy. I'm going to go list a property, make money. Yeah. And then when things get harder, like they have to do more marketing. I've done some properties on the residential sales, like some of our remodel clients, where I had to do like 7 or 8 open houses. I had to do more marketing. I do a lot of 3D tours and aerial photography, and same thing on our commercial listings. I have a commercial listing for $2 million right now that we have about 100 pictures is the most that you can put on the platform. I have aerial, I have interior. The former agent had 1 blurry photo. I've also seen commercial agents that had $1 million listing and they had a thumb in the picture. And I was just like, what are you doing here? Like, we gotta have. We're in the age of digital photography, of even AI rendering. Sometimes we'll do like virtual staging. A lot. We do like this physically stage on some of the residential when it makes sense. Like Stage Hotel is one of the companies we do that with. And I think that's one thing with the market is you've got to showcase the property the best it possibly can. because buyers have more inventory to pick through right now. So it depends on the local submarket. Overall, we have about 4.5 months of inventory, which means 5 to 6 months is kind of a balanced market. However, like Appison had about 10 months of inventory because they're a higher price point. There's been a lot of new construction. And some of those properties, I've seen some people that built a house to sell at like 750,000. It took a year to sell.
Wow.
As opposed to North Chattanooga is like 3 months of inventory, and it's a seller's market, and some of those properties sell really quickly, even at the higher price points, because we're lower inventory of that local submarket. And on commercial spaces, like I mentioned, a lot of people got that in 2020 or 2021, and those are 5-year AMs.
Yeah.
So what that means is now they're coming to a situation where they might have got a 3% interest rate, and now it might be at 6% interest rate or 5%, and their payment's going to double what it was before. So if you had a $1 million loan, we kind of use a 1% rule versus if you're at 12% interest. So if you're at 6% interest, you're looking at, for every 100,000 you borrow, $100,000 would be $1,000 a month at 12% interest. So it'd be
Right.
$500.
Right.
So you have $5,000 on a $1 million property at 6%, as opposed to if it was at 3%, it would have been 2,500. So if you are like, I have a property that's worth $1 million loan, it's worth more than that because there's equity, and my payment went from 2,500 to $5,000 a month. That might be significant, and just imagine it's a $50 million property. That really can make an impact. And I was starting to see some more motivated sales that, even if they had a lot of equity, that they might have had a multifamily property they bought for $10 million, that they might be willing to sell for a discount now. I've seen some that actually have. And I've also seen people that bought in the last 3 years, let's say Appison, for example, they bought in a new construction. They bought at the top of the market. They're competing with new construction that has rate buy down. I've seen some in Appison sell for less than what they bought 3 years ago, or if they sold for the same amount with closing costs and other fees, they're going to be losing some money. What that builder is able to do is they're able to work with the lender to buy down the interest rate and offer not only a lower interest rate, they're able to offer a builder warranty. So do I want the 3-year-old house, or I want the brand new one that's the same floor plan? I want the new one. So I've seen that as an impact too, of some people that don't have much equity are appreciably lowered because of the high interest rate.
Right.
However, Chattanooga is a growing market. You hold real estate long enough, you'll do okay. Just when you sell in 2 to 3 years, you either better do some good value improvements, or something that's made a difference. Otherwise, you might be kind of breaking even, and some people have been accidental landlords because of this. They're like,
Right.
well,
Right.
I don't want to lose money. I might as well rent it out. And if you rent out for 2 years
Yeah.
and you sell, then you have the primary residence exclusion. So that means that, and you always consult with an attorney and CPA. That's always a disclosure. You can look at the primary residence exclusion 2 of the past 5 years. If you've occupied it, you can sell and then not have your capital gains tax. And if you're single filing or married, of how much that is, it's 250,000 to 500,000 profit.
Right.
You can make.
Well,
Sometimes you need to rent for a couple of years and sell.
I don't mean to cut you off. We're out of time. My clock's hit 0. And really fast, you got 15 seconds. Tell everybody where best way to get a hold of you, and then I got to close the show out, brother.
Gotcha. So the BallewTeam.com is our local website. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook, Corey Ballew. I'm very active. I'm much more active on Facebook, and I'm getting more active on LinkedIn. Those are the best ways to reach me. On my website, I actually have ways somebody can schedule an appointment for a phone call, a video call on my contact page. So if they go to my contact us page, they can actually schedule that. That's better than calling me, because that way we can have additional time on our calendar.
All right. Brother, thanks for being on. Hey, look, if you're looking for a realtor, you're in Chattanooga. So I can tell people that have moved here versus people that have been here. We say Chattanooga, and y'all say Chattanooga. So I just, that's a little quirky thing. It's like,
Yeah.
my family's been here forever. So, everybody, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. If you are looking for a realtor, give Corey a call, or actually go to his website, schedule a meeting. And you know what? Thanks for watching Open for Business. We'll see you next week.